Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 3rd of April 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the instruments, and of course what are they up to right now, what's happening with them at this point in time. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. And the first one I want to touch on here is the DXY, the dollar index. So of course, after it had its brief drop here on the 20th of March, and then the next day quickly traveled back up here, back above this this short-term, in a way maybe a bit of a tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 31st of January this year. So after it got back above it, it traveled higher and almost managed to reach the 97.54 level. But to be honest, this level could be adjusted now, because what we're going to be looking here is of course, now we're going to take this level, this high is an important one, which was around the 97.50 zone. So maybe just a few points higher, but nevertheless this is what we're going to be keeping a close eye on. Basically it reversed after hitting this level, it reversed back down, it continues to travel lower, but it's currently getting held by this quite an important support zone near the 97 level. So which also kind of coincides here with the 50 EMA shown on the 4-hour chart, shown as the red line here. So now you can see that it's rebounding, it's trying to push higher, but to be honest, there is more chance for this one to slide lower than to go higher, because for us, let's say, in order to kind of get comfortable with higher areas again, we would probably initially like to see a nice good push above this high, this recent high that we saw here yesterday, and that was around this 97.5250 zone, approximately there. Basically a nice good push above this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, where the next target could be the high of March here, the highest point of March, which was around the 97.70 zone. So basically guys, for now, that's in terms of the upside. Of course, the upside is currently slightly off the table. What we're looking here for is to see how this index is going to perform around the 97 barrier, because if this starts breaking, then, well, I mean, we could see a further slide lower, initially of course targeting the 96.80 zone, but to be honest, it's not far from this this upside support line, this tentative upside support line that I was talking about, and we could potentially see maybe another rebound, another of course test of it, and then a potential rebound back to the upside. So keep this idea in your head. Basically, if we see a drop here below 97 level, this is what we're going to be looking out for. We will of course initially target the 96.80, but then we could also take a look at this 200 EMA here, but again, slightly below that, we do have this tentative upside support line that could come into play one more time. So keep your eyes on this one. First, let me just quickly mark this for our future reference, mark this level that we're keeping a close eye on. So the 97 level, that's the one for us right now, and like I said, if we see a break below this, then yep, further declines could be possible. Jumping into WTI oil now, looking at this very interesting chart here. After it exited its little range that it was trading in, so it exited here on the 1st of April. Basically, it pushed higher, and since then excuse me, and since then it continues to travel higher. It managed to almost to reach the 63.15 level. And just to kind of show you what that level was here in the past, the 63.15 zone acted as a very good area of resistance here back on the 7th of November last year. So the commodity managed to reach the area around the 63 zone, just kind of fell shy of just 15 points from hitting that that other level that I was talking about. So it hit the 63 zone, and now it's reversing back down. Of course, still looking at this this chart from today's perspective, it's still trading above its pivot. Of course, that's somewhat a positive sign. But to be honest, if this starts breaking, if the commodity will break the pivot today and stay below the close today's day below this pivot, then well, we might see maybe another drop lower here, a potential move lower, where we will try to find another potential area of support. Of course, this area here, this area, the upper side of the range, remains kind of an important one to watch. But to be honest, before that, we do have the 61.20 zone, and just to kind of show you what that level was in the past, the 61.20 acted as a very good area of resistance back here on the 12th of November, and also at the same time it also but previously before that it acted as a very good support zone on the 7th of November. So quite an important level becomes this one, the 62.20. In a way, what we could do here is we could potentially see something like this happening, where a slide lower could test the 61.20 zone, and if it fails to break below that, or let's say continues to trade above the 61.20 zone, then we could see the bulls stepping in here again and driving this one higher. Now, don't get me wrong, what we could do also, what we could draw here also is something like this. We could draw this another tentative upside support line here. And if the commodity would decide to, let's say, stick to this one, now that would mean that the correction would be even deeper here. This is where the upper side of the previous range could come into play. But again, for now, let's go step by step. First, let's see what it wants to do today with its pivot, which is around the 62.30 zone. If it remains below this, then yep, further declines could be possible. The level then to watch out for could be the 61.20, but if that fails to withhold, then yep, like I said, we could see a deeper correction here to the downside, and we'll just take it from there. Now, don't get me wrong, if this level right here around today's pivot, let's say, continues to hold the price from dropping lower, we could see maybe the bulls trying to pick up on this one and pushing up higher towards the 63 zone again, or even higher. But again, for now, it seems that the commodities is willing to correct a little bit. Let's just see how much it is willing to correct, and how far is it willing to travel lower. So basically, like I said, for now, keep your eyes on the 62.30, which is around today's pivot. If that gets broken, then yep, a deeper decline could be, a deeper correction could be possible. Let's jump into crypto. When crypto, very quickly, this will Ripple continues to travel higher. Now, there's a very good move here today, managed to reach this level right here. Let me just quickly put that on the chart here. So it managed to reach the area around the 0.3750, found its resistance around there, and then retraced back down. So what we're going to do here is, of course, we're going to continue observing this high. If we see a nice good break above this, then yep, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high. We could see a further push towards the today's R2, which is around the 0.39 level. But to be honest, for us, the important one still remains the in a way maybe a nice good number of 0.40, so or maybe just slightly above that. So different exchanges have slightly different pricing, so that's why, guys, the 0.40, that's the kind of the area around there. That's what we're going to be targeting, especially if we see a nice good push above today's high, which was around the 0.3750 zone, approximately there. In terms of the downside, if this suddenly starts dropping and we see a drop below the 0.3425 level, of course we could see maybe a bit of a more correction here to the downside. But for us, let's say, to get more negative, or at least a little bit more negative on Ripple, we would like to see a drop below the 0.3320 level. Previously, you can see that it acted as a very good area of resistance here back on the 13th of March and also on the 1st of March. So in a way, if we see a drop below the 0.3320, now this is what you could do is like I said, you could start targeting maybe slightly lower areas like the 0.31 or even below that. But again, for now, it seems that the downside could be slightly off the table unless it's a small correction. But again, in order to get slightly more comfortable with higher areas, we would like to see a nice good push above the recent highs here near the 0.3750 level. So keep your eyes on this one. Jumping into NZDCAD and looking at this one here, basically we can see that it's trying hard to push back above its this short-term tentative upside support line that got broken here on well, yesterday actually, and now it's kind of traveling all the way back above it. So of course we're going to continue observing it today and see where it's going to kind of end the daily candle. And but to be honest, in order to, let's say, to get slightly more comfortable with higher areas, we would like to see a nice good firm push above the 0.9095, or in a way you could round it up towards the 0.91 level. A nice good push above the 0.91 could also place the pair above its 200 EMA, and of course this could be seen somewhat as a positive for the pair, and we could see this one traveling further up here towards the 0.9155 or even higher. But for now guys, continue observing it. Of course, if it stays above this tentative upside support line, it could be a good sign for the bulls. But again, to get more comfortable with higher levels, we need to see a nice good push above this 0.91 level. Let's even round it up here towards the 0.91. So just for better confirmation. And like I said, yep, this is the area that we're watching out for in terms of the upside. In terms of the downside, well, we're gonna take a more cautious approach here. A drop below the 0.8985 zone, then this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and what we could do then is target this potential area of support near the 0.8915, and you can see how well this area played out previously here back on the 12th of February and also around the 21st of January and the 8th and 9th of January, and also on the 2nd of January. So a very important level this one is, but again, we will only consider that if we see a drop below the 0.8985 zone. USDJPY now continues to struggle today to overcome this 111.50 barriers. So let me just adjust this quickly a little bit. Something like this here, basically, guys. So this is what we're keeping a close eye on. So basically 111.50 continues to play out nicely, but you can see that how the pair is struggling to kind of get a firm move above that level. So in a way, if that's the case, if that's going to continue being like that, then in a way what we could see here is a bit of a correction here back down, and initially aiming for the 111.15, but if that fails to withhold, then yep, a further slide lower could potentially bring this pair back towards this tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 25th of March, and then of course we'll take it from there, see what it wants to do. Does it want to rebound and push back up, or actually does it want to break and move lower again? But again, in terms of the downside, from the very short-term perspective, what you could look at here is wait for a break below the 111.15. This way you could then target the 110.90 zone, which was approximately around the 200 EMA, and if that fails to withhold, then yep, the last resort for the bulls could be this tentative upside support line here, where they could try to pick up the pair and push it higher again. But again, we'll take it from there, see how it's performing then. If, of course, if this 111.50 zone surrenders to the bulls earlier and we see a nice good strong push above it, our next target that we're keeping a close eye on here is the 111.85 zone, approximately near the highs of the 14th of March and near the highs of the 7th of March as well. So we're just going to go slowly on this one, but again, we need to see a nice good push above the 111.50 first before we can target higher areas. And the last pair I want to quickly touch on, and that's EURGBP. Certainly having a weird day today here. Initially was selling off this morning, managed to drop all the way here, almost managed to reach the 0.85 zone, but quickly the bulls picked up on it and drove the pair back above the 0.8530 zone. So now it's, even though it's below the pivot, today's pivot, still is above it, this key, quite a key area of support near the 0.8530 level. So let's see if it actually manages to travel above this area right here. Let me just quickly put that on a chart, and this is what we're going to be looking at here. So a nice firm break above the 0.8550 level could open the path towards slightly higher areas again, at least maybe towards the 0.8595 or even the 0.86 zone. Slightly above that, we do have the high of the, or should I say the high of yesterday, which is around the 0.8680 zone, and also around there we do have the 200 EMA. So basically, long story short, guys, in terms of the upside, what we could do here is see a potential idea here, something like this. If we see a nice good pop above the 0.8550, of course, this could increase the chances for the pair to travel higher. This is when we could target the 0.86 zone. Your stop loss could be around the lows here, near the maybe maybe just slightly below the 0.8530 zone, around the 0.8525, and then yep, we could potentially try to see if it plays out or not. But again, like I said, for now, be very cautious, wait for that break first. Let's get that confirmation break, and then we could see if, then we could see if it actually gonna play out, is going to play out this scenario or not. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. Okay, guys, I'll have to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's 6 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.